Hey, you're listening to the Smoke Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Smoke Meat's brought to you by Joe's Underground at the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. Joe's is just such a great place. I love them. They've made me feel like family the first time I walked in there, and they still do every time I go in. I don't get to go as much as I used to because I had to move, but every chance I get, I still go down there. I always meet new friends and hang out with old ones. Jeremy and the gang know how to make you feel like family. As Joe's Underground at the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. We've got another sponsor here on Smoked Meat. As y'all know, I've never been a big candle guy. Just never did them. And a few weeks ago, my wife went with me. We went out shopping and looking around because I do that kind of thing with my wife. I love her just a little bit. And we found these candles from a company called 4 Points Trading Company. And they had the coolest scents. They had whiskey, they had firewood, you name it, they had it. And I bought the whiskey and the firewood and I brought them down here to the studio and I lit them. And it smelled like I'm sitting out beside of a fire pit drinking a glass of whiskey. I mean, it's amazing. And I reached out to them and said, look, I love your product. I'd love for you to sponsor the show. And they were excited and I'm excited too. They sent me a lot of candles, and the scents that they have, you can mix them and just even solo, they're great. They sent me one that's gasoline and one that is motor oil, and I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. And, growing up in the South, being raised down here, I've been in a lot of, backyard shops. And I lit those, and it took me back to every one of those. It made the studio smell so great, it just took me back to being a kid and a teenager. And, check them out. It's 4pointstradingco.com. And if you use the promo code Smoked Meat, all one word, you'll get a 10% off on your order. So go check them out. And my guest today is such a wonderful lady. We had such a great time. She is head of Ladylake PR. And her name is Cindy Ladylake. That's what we call her anyway, but she's such a great lady. We had such a good time talking today. Covered a little bit of everything. You know how I am. I go all over the map. So we're just going to go on ahead and get this beast kicked off here on Smoked Meat. Hey, so how you doing today, Cindy?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thanks for being on here. I've been looking forward to this. I know we were scheduled one time before and something had happened where you had to cancel. You had an emergency.
Well, actually what happened was Comcast decided that they were going to do some kind of servicing to my neighborhood, and I had no internet for a while. It was kind of in and out, and that's terrible when you're a PR person and you do all this social media. Kind of like, I feel like I'm on a desert island, when the boats are passing by. But we're all back and good to go now.
Outstanding. Yeah, I know you're in our group, with Ron and Eileen and Jimmy, and you just, some of the acts I've seen, I've looked at some of your folks, and you've sent me a couple of people, and you do really good. You've got an eye.
I'm friends with Jimmy, the fabulous Jimmy Starr, Ron Russell, Eileen Shapiro, World Star PR. They're just lovely people. I met Jimmy years ago. We both worked for the same record label, and actually he got me the job at the record label as an A&R, and I worked in his division, and that's how we became friends. And then he invited me to listen to the show. I loved the show. They had a show promoter from another country way back. Mm-hmm. And she had some family problems, and then we get a new group of people together, which is Claudia and me, Teresa Sabin, Dave Hughes. There's so many people that work together on the team for Jimmy Starr, and we're all good. We're great friends, great network. I call us we're the powerful network on social media. We're the people to know. So yeah, they're great people. Eileen is the one who gave me the connection for the show today, so I really appreciate World Star and all the help that they give me, and in turn I try to use my social media for them, support what they do, so we help each other out. It's a great working relationship. I love those guys.
Yeah, me too. I love it when you can do business and you can be friends at the same time. And and that line is, business is business, friends is friends. And, they send me people and, sometimes I'm thinking I have nothing in common with this person. How am I going to do this interview? And those have been some of the best episodes I've ever done.
Well, you just never know
Yeah.
when you start a conversation. You never know which direction it's going to go and what you're going to have in common. Jimmy called me the one day and he said, "I've got a cancellation on my show. Do you have any people who might be able to fill in quickly?" And I had a new artist, Thomas Claxton, who had just signed up with me.
I love Thomas.
Thomas is crazy. We work together, of course, but we are such good friends. And so Thomas is one of my very few full-time musicians. So Thomas I said to Thomas, what's your availability? Because sometimes there's an on-call list of people that I have that they can do almost anything. And he said, you give me the notice, I'm available. So Jimmy said, can you get somebody on short notice? So I said to Thomas, can you go on the Jimmy Star Show? He's like, heck yeah, I can. Yeah. So Thomas did a little test run with me so I could, look at him on camera and give my opinion of where he was going to shoot from because, Jimmy Star is visual as well as audio.
Yeah.
And oddly, Thomas is sitting in this room with all of these figurines. And I said, Thomas, what is that? Is it like a collection of, figurines? And he goes, yeah, I collect action figures. I said, you are kidding me. I said, you're kidding me. I said, do you know Jimmy Star is this big fan of action figures, and in his office he's got like wall-to-wall action figures? He said, no way. I said, just you wait till you get on that show and he sees your action figures. It's going to be like 2 kids in a candy store. And I said, forget about talking about your music because you're going to start talking about your action figures. And that's actually, they did have a segment where they went into action figures. Jimmy loves collectibles, and so does Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year at the NAMM conference in California, Thomas always goes, and he was working and doing a podcast there. And Jimmy and Eileen and Ron went, and then they worked with Scott Page and, I don't know, all the folks. I'm thinking of the girl, and her name is Jen or Jan with black hair. I'm going brain dead.
I know who you're
right
talking
to be
about.
senile.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't think of it.
Yeah, she's the guitar playing, very beautiful young lady. Her name is escaping me, and Thomas is going to be listening to this. He's going to be like, that chick's senile. No, so anyway, there was a big booth full of them, and they did a wonderful series of interviews. I think Gator Cases was one of the sponsors there. Thomas is endorsed by so many people. I've never seen a more connected dude in the business. He just, all the brands, all the big people, he knows every single person. Thomas is great, and he's a great event manager. He managed, for me this summer, we did something called the Isolated Sessions, and it was a live stream series. So he pulled in some of his big friends that he knows from NAMM and other parts of the industry. And then I had some of my indies on there. Then I had some of my bigger friends on there. And we put together one heck of a series of entertainment. And Thomas will be putting together, coming up this month, I can't announce the headliner until he's officially confirmed, but it's a guitar-playing friend of ours who's a Grammy Award winner. He's our headliner, and we're going to be working with Bass Note Sangria, which is a wine brand out of California. They're our sponsor. And we have Lori Diamond and Fred Abatelli. We have David Martinez from Texas, and then we have Thomas, and then we have the headliner who I can't name yet. So that's going to be another series of music coming up. So we've got all kinds of fun things. It's my company's 15-year anniversary. 15 years in this crazy business, starting from no contacts, no experience. I was just a mom. Yeah. And I built all this by myself on my own. I met people, I did the work, I did the networking, and Combined on all my interfaces, I'm sure I have 100,000 followers. My magnification is 160 million.
Nice.
So I do very well with the followers that I have. I would say I'm one of the biggest indie music promoters on social media today.
Very
I would
cool.
think so. Yeah,
But yeah,
I enjoy it.
I've actually had Thomas on the show.
Yeah.
I'm about to release his episode.
Yeah, he is a great storyteller, quite the personality. He's an excellent musician. He's my go-to guy when I have technical questions about events. He's just a huge asset to Ladylake, which is my company, and a great personal friend. Unfortunately, he was in an automobile accident a while back, and he's recovering, but what a setback for someone who is a full-time artist, as if the virus and everything wasn't enough of a setback, since it kind of turned our entire year's schedule upside down. We had bookings, we had a series we were working on. We had an offer from the city winery outfit, which runs, that's a big chain of venues. Last summer in Boston, we put on a showcase with David Martinez was the opener, Linda Marks was the second act, Lori Diamond and Fred Abatelli closed us, and Thomas drove up for the event, but he didn't quite make it time-wise. There was a traffic delay from New York City up to Boston, so he came in and hung out at the green room afterwards. But City Winery was so impressed by our level of professionalism plus our PR that they offered us an opportunity to work throughout their chain of venues and take this showcase on the road, which was our plan for this year. Unfortunately, everything shut down. So now, with things opening gradually and things, being a little still not quite as they will be one day, we're just playing it by ear as far as what are our next things going to be. So we're doing a lot of the live streams and the shows like your show, which is what I'm on tonight. So I really appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk to you and get to know you and talk about what I do a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, people don't understand the effort that goes into promoting stuff. I mean, just promoting this show, the little bit that I do, it's a lot. And it's funny, the analytics, I keep track of my numbers, and the frustrating thing is the hosts that I use, their analytics are horrible.
Right.
I posted the week I hit 39 on the Apple charts. They said I had 2 hits all week.
Wow.
So do the math on that. And I don't think I got to 39 with 2 hits.
I don't think so.
I hate not knowing, but I know I've got a really good reach because I was on a show a couple of months ago. I answered a thing on Facebook, and this guy wanted somebody that hunts and was looking for a paramedic on the show. And of course, that's me. I hunt and I'm a paramedic. So I said, okay. I sent him a message, and he, it had my name on there, Brad Pittman, and he sent me one back and said, "You don't by any chance have a podcast, do you?" I said, "Yes, it's called Smoke Meat." He says, "Holy crap, I've listened to that for about 6 months now." I'm like, "Really?" And he's from, I think it was Ohio.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that was really, really cool. And I went on his show, and did a little bit of first aid stuff for people who were hunting way out and about and things like that.
That's
we just
so
had a good
cool.
time. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You're speaking about your analytics and your reach and who you reach and how, I was doing a charity show. Oh, it goes back now about 6 years, I want to say. We put on a benefit show in Charlotte, and we did a R&B hip-hop showcase to benefit Music for Vets.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sold-out show with a standing room only waiting line. That's how our reach went there. And afterwards, there was a bunch of different after parties. The various people broke up into groups, and different groups went out. So I go into this place, and by the way, I've never been to Charlotte before. So I go into Charlotte with the head of a local indie record label, and our party of people. We had a movie maker with us. My assistant was there. The guy who owned the record label, his wife was with us. So it was a party of about 6 or so of us going in. And we go in, and this complete stranger comes up to me, and he goes, "I know you." And I'm thinking, who is this guy? I don't know this guy. How does he know me? And he said, "You're Ladylake." I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "I know you from Twitter."
Nice.
And I'm like, wow, is that crazy?
Yeah.
You're in a complete different city, and a total stranger comes up to you, and they know you from social media. So, like you said, you don't ever know who's following you, who's reading your stuff, who's paying attention. There's more people than you think, and it's also very surprising what people know about you or think they know,
Yeah.
or the impression that people get. The lady who I was just speaking with on the show that I recorded prior to yours, Kim from Non Blonde, she said to me, "I follow everything you do." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Why is that? It's independent music. I mean, do you like independent music?" She goes, "Oh yeah, the music's good, but I follow all the stuff." And I said, "Really? What's all the stuff?" And she said, "Well, you put out a lot of like inspiration. You put out inspirational things." And I thought, well, I kind of do, but not consciously. It's not like, oh, I'm an inspirational post person. Really, I'm an indie music promoter.
Yeah.
The inspirational stuff is personal. I just have a philosophy about being a positive person and doing positive actions, surrounding yourself with good people. And we have such a great group. It's such a kind group, a friendly group. And, you will come across people who aren't nice.
Yeah.
And, you and I had a little private convo before we went online off the record, so I'm not going to mention anything about it. But you will always encounter people who don't understand you, or don't like the way you do things, or have something negative to say. I've learned to thicken my skin and not take things personally, and understand that when someone has something to say to you, you've got to understand where they're coming from, what's going on in their life that has put them into that frame of mind that they're going to come at you with negativity. It isn't about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
It's them and their negative whatever. And my philosophy is, I don't do negative. I don't do negative people. I don't work with negative artists. I don't work with other companies where people are negative. I was attempting to start a project with, and I don't name names, with 2 other promotional companies, and I had never worked with either one of those in the past. And this summer, unfortunately, it was just a conglomeration of my son moved from Washington, D.C. to the town I live in Florida. Then I was in the middle of some home repairs, and then one of my good friends got sick and wound up in the hospital very ill, and then I had a health thing. So my whole summer was kind of like everything went chaotic all at once, and I had to, change a lot of plans around. So the PR project that I had proposed to do had to go on hold. So this lady writes me a very nasty letter, accusatory, and I'm like, wait a minute, lady. You have 2,000 followers on your Twitter. Obviously, you don't have a big, powerful network. I am offering you for free the opportunity of working with this gigantic, super-powered network that I'm in, with top talent, all kinds of media, the biggest independent promoters, which could only benefit you. And I'm not asking you for a dime. I'm just proposing the idea. How about coming to me to find out why it is that I'm not doing the project, if there's anything you could help with, or if there's anything going on that you need to know about?
Yeah.
Why come in with this negative? But she came at me with this, I'm unfollowing you. And, it's like, I said to her, I'm very sorry you feel that way. There's been a lot of medical issues and family issues. And so I wish you well. Namaste.
Yep.
And that's what I said to her. Instead of arguing or going down the wrong path, I figured, if this is your outlook on life, you're not going to do well because, you had an opportunity to get in a really big network. You basically, shot yourself in the foot on that one.
Yeah.
So that's somebody who won't be getting into our network. But, it happens that way. It's just people don't have the right outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I love this network. With Twitter and Facebook, I don't have, thousands of followers. I think I've got like 400 on Twitter.
Right.
But you and Jimmy and Eileen and the other people in our network, with the thousands and thousands, retweet most of my stuff. So
right.
It gets out there and it shows.
So if you ever need my help with anything, just on Facebook, you can tag my personal page. I don't mind if you tag my name.
Mm-hmm.
And on Twitter, you can either tag me in the post, like just add my tag,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a photo, how you can tag a photo, tag me in the photo.
Mm-hmm.
Or if that's not applicable, you can just DM me and say, hey, Cindy, I'm doing this thing,
Mm-hmm.
would you help me? Because as long as you're in our network, fine and dandy by me. It's the people who aren't. Jimmy and I have a pet peeve where people who aren't in the network, we call it jumping or hopping. Like, we'll be talking about something. He'll be promoting something, or Eileen will be promoting something, or I'll be promoting something. Somebody jumps into that conversation. They're like, hey, look at me. Here's my link to my Spotify. And we're like, wait a second, buddy. What are you doing here? And Jimmy does the funniest thing. I get such a charge out of him. He'll take his World Star PR banner that has all the different things that he does, and he plops it down to them, and he's like, if you want me, here's my services. Send me a note. But it's kind of like, people are so rude, and, they go about things in such a crazy way that they're not going to get the desired result. The thing about the flies with vinegar and the flies with honey, that old saying.
Yeah.
How does that go again?
Yeah, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar.
Exactly. That's the one I'm thinking of. I couldn't get it right. It's been a long day. So I just feel like, if you have a good positive outlook, you're a friendly person, you're willing to support other people, their projects, be friends with them, you're going to get much further. No, it's not only music, not only social media, not only promotions, any walk of life, anything you're doing. Yeah. It's all about your attitude, because your attitude doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay any money to be nice. You don't have to pay any money to have manners. It's free.
Exactly.
And also being someone, I had this up as my inspirational post today about integrity. I'm dealing with a situation where someone that I work with is an exemplary person, and I feel being maybe either, I don't know if it's taken advantage of, or maybe sometimes when you're too nice, people, push you around a little bit because they know they can get away with it, and you're not going to retaliate.
For weakness.
Right. So I'm dealing with that in this situation, because not only do I promote my artists, but I also help them with their projects. There's a lot of consultation that I do as well as just the visual promotions that you see. There's a lot of behind the scenes that goes into what we do. And I just feel this way. If you've given of yourself for however long, it's not being received the way it should be. You're not getting the respect that you should. If you feel taken advantage of, then you are taken advantage of. Um, it's time to elevate yourself and surround yourself with people who think the way you do, and go away from negativity. And that's my advice to anybody: to surround yourself with positive people doing positive things. And the law of attraction says if you're a positive person doing positive stuff, what you will attract is more positivity. It works the other way as well.
Yeah.
If you're a negative person, you always see the bad in everything. You find people, the cartoon character that has the rain cloud that
Yeah.
follows them around.
That was
Have
me
you
all
ever
weekend
known
on the
anyone like
ambulance.
that in your life?
Yeah. That was
The
me
negative
all
Nancy's, don't they
weekend on
call
the
them?
ambulance. All weekend it was like that.
Yeah.
Oh, but you see, I'm kind of strange. I don't know if it's being a paramedic for so long, and having to just be able to cut the realism. But
Right.
I keep a good attitude because, like I say, I've got to. If
You
I
have a
don't, I'm going to go
very,
crazy.
very demanding, difficult job that is so important. I have so much respect for you.
But I look. Well, thank you. But I look at all the angles of anything, and I'm suspicious of everything.
Right. I get
But
it.
but I keep that good attitude. I can take what somebody says on the radio. Just, well, we're going to do this. Yeah, they're saying this right now because they know if a call comes up right now in their area, they won't have to do it, and it'll be us. And I'm always thinking these things, and it drives me insane. But I still keep a good attitude. But because we
So
have
it's
so
so
many people with
interesting
different
to me
angles.
that you're a paramedic and a podcaster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the paramedic has got to be so demanding of you, like physically and your energy. And how do you have energy left over to do podcasting?
This is how I wash my day off. This gets
Yeah.
rid of that. I've been a paramedic for 30 years. 5 years ago, I had 2 strokes.
Oh, my word.
Yeah,
Heaven bless you.
they took me off an ambulance for a good while. I've been back on for about a year now. But you know, I
Well,
just
I know first-handedly because, sadly to me, my husband was diagnosed with a terrible disease. He's now passed, and throughout his downfall, he, had a lot of hospital emergency type things. So we had paramedics regularly, and the group of people, you couldn't have found nicer, more caring, compassionate people. I was just a regular person and really had no medical background, and to be thrown into a situation with serious medical all around I was like a fish out of water.
yeah,
And the paramedic people are, not only do y'all do the medical, but the human element that's demanded of you, because oftentimes you're dealing with, the family or whoever's around the person,
yeah,
and also the family situation or the emergency situation. And there is so much compassion that's needed from you guys
yeah,
in order to do what you do. It's just, I
it get
think you're severely underrated,
well,
and you deserve much more kudos than you get. I don't know how you do it.
like I say, it's been 30 years, and it's funny because we do have compassion, and I have to remember sometimes, while I may have seen this thing that's happening right now 100 times in the last year, this is the first time and the worst thing this has ever happened to this person.
Right,
And I have to remember that what's normal to me is not normal to them.
right,
And I just figured out a long time ago, if I treat everybody like my mom and dad, it works pretty good.
right.
And, we had a patient who was in a bad wreck, and we had a basic unit, which is 2 EMTs that responded, and we went out there with them, and we had to fly her out.
Mhm.
And landing zone was about 2 miles away. It's the closest place we could land anybody.
Mhm.
So I got in the back and rode into the landing zone because I'm a higher level of care. And my partner was actually on that truck. He was working overtime.
Mhm.
And the other guy in the back is a young guy, he's fairly new, and he was watching me and doing what I asked him to do and all. And this poor person was so afraid. They were hurt and they were scared. They worried about their
Oh.
kids because their kids were at home. And I
Mhm.
noticed she was wearing a Bob Marley shirt. And I
Oh,
looked at her.
cool.
I said, "You like Bob Marley?" She said, "Yeah." And I started singing Three Little Birds.
Oh, wow.
And she started smiling over it. And this kid in the back with me, his jaw just dropped. He's like, "What in the hell are you doing?" But it worked.
Right.
And it wasn't something I thought of doing. It's just she likes Bob Marley. Let's make her grin a little bit.
Right.
And back to your original question, because I'll get sidetracked quick.
That's okay. That's what we're here for, to
Um,
get sidetracked.
I've been a stand-up comic for 30 years also.
Really?
Yeah, I do stand-up.
Wow. Could you be more diverse?
You ain't even scratched the surface. I've never turned down an opportunity to do anything.
That's crazy.
And but I had the strokes, and they gave me a really bad stutter. I mean, a bad one. You couldn't understand me.
Wow.
And I was at home for about 4 months because I couldn't work, and all I had to do was just kind of piddle around. Well, I've got friends that hunt, and I hunt too, but I couldn't then. And one of my friends loves to hunt, but he doesn't like wild game. So
Right.
when he kills something, he gives it to somebody that needs it. And he would kill a pig or a deer, and he would call me and my other friend and say, "Come get it." And we'd come get it and clean it and split up the meat because free meat.
Right.
And I got tired of doing, okay, let's cut hams here and let's cut stew meat and all this. I got tired of doing the same thing over and over, so I started learning to make sausages and that kind of stuff. And
Right.
that centered me and helped heal me. It helped me get rid of the stutter. And
Wow.
and music helped me get rid of it too. You ever heard of Monty Montgomery?
Yes.
Yes. He did a version of Romeo and Juliet that Dire Straits had put out.
Yeah, I know that song.
Yes, that song saved me, and I let him know it. I was actually out in the cook shack one day cleaning guns, and I had metal playing as loud as I could. And I just decided I wanted to hear that, so I downloaded it and played it. And I had tried singing, and it just didn't work. And my wife was out in the yard walking, doing laps. We've got a bunch of acreage where I'm from, and I realized I was singing it perfectly, note for note. And
Wow.
I did it about 3 times, and I started frantically waving at her. She came over there, she thought something was wrong, and I got to give her the first clear "I love you" I'd gotten to in 4 months.
Wow.
And I sent him a message on Facebook and let him know.
That's so cool.
I said, "You made a difference." And it was about 3 days before my birthday, my phone rang. I was laying in the bed, and it was from Texas. And I'm like, "Great, who do I owe money to in Texas now?" And I picked it
Right.
up, and he says, "This Brad." I said, "Yeah, who is this?" He said, "This is Monty Montgomery." I'm like, "What?"
No way.
And he said, "I got your message." He said, "I started just sending you one back, but I had to hear the voice." And we talked for about 30 minutes. And I let him know real
That's
quick.
insane.
Yeah, I mean, he is so awesome.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, and,
What a great story.
because of that cook shack, that's how this got named Smoked Meat. It's an homage to that.
Do you know how many people have asked me this? When I said what shows, I was telling everybody, I'm going to be on 2 shows, and they're like, "What are?" So my older son, both my kids are in their 20s. My older son says to me, "Mom, what on earth is a smoked meat podcast, and why would you be on it?" And I said, "It doesn't have anything to do with meat."
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's just.
And he said, "Oh, okay. I was just kind of curious."
Yeah, it's an homage to that, and about a year and a half ago, I got a wild hair. I said, I think I want to start a podcast. And I didn't have any idea where it was going to go, what it was going to be. And I was talking
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine that owns a bar in Augusta where I do some comedy at, Joe's Underground. They're my sponsor. And I said, "Jeremy, I'm thinking about starting a podcast." He said, "What do you need?" And he bought my original round of gear for me. Just boom, out of the gate. So because of that, he's on every show that I do.
That's so cool.
And if you listen to my intros, you know I always this Smoke Meat. Welcome, I'm Brad Pittman, your host. Smoke Meat's brought to you by Joe's Underground, and I just go off on them. And I actually got another sponsor last week, which is awesome.
That is so great. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a candle company out of California. It's called 4 Points Trading Company,
Wow, cool.
and they've got man-scented candles. I'm down here burning.
Really?
Yeah, right now I'm burning one that's called firewood and one that's whiskey.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I have to check them out. You have to give me some info on them. I love candles.
I will, and they're regular
I'm
candles
one of
are
those
great too.
chicks, you know. I've got like I wish I could. My kids make fun of me a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Our house is divided into such of a way that we have two main rooms. Our formal area, and then where the guys watch the football. And that's not super decorated, but where I work is very feminine. It's got lots of butterflies and pillows, silk flowers, and all kinds of little doodads and things and candles everywhere. And it's very me.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of tease me a little bit in a nice way.
Oh, yeah.
My guy says that I'm eclectic. And I said, is that an insult? And my older son says, well, Mom, you've got Tinkerbell on the wall, so I think you are eclectic. I do have a sparkling Tinkerbell on my wall.
Oh, you want eclectic? Here's what's surrounding me right now.
Okay, let's match. Let's go for it.
I've got my wall of fame. I've got some some headshots of people who have sent me headshots I've interviewed.
Right.
I have about an 8-inch tall Lego man that was 3D printed by a friend of mine.
Oh my goodness.
I've got a wood burn smoked meat sign, which is actually my one of my pictures on my Facebook page that a friend made for me. On one of my speakers, I have a Jack Link Sasquatch mug. It's about a foot tall with a fedora that I wear on it. A big picture of Tim Moss staring at me, which is awesome. An apron that says Top Dog Tailgater Class of '89 because I won that at our 20th reunion at a tailgating contest we had. I have OK's comic book on the wall. I have a picture of Lemmy with fire coming out of his feet that Jerry Laffey made for me. To my left, I have stage lights on a pole. And on that pole is a skeleton wearing a biker vest that I used to wear.
Okay, you've got me beat.
Oh, you ain't heard what else the skeleton's wearing. He's got on a visor, a pair of Elvis sunglasses, and a headset, and a mask, and a bedazzled bra that I have worn on stage.
Oh, my God.
Yes. We did a breast cancer thing. It was called Bra Dazzled.
Ah, that's very smart.
Yeah, each department in the hospital made different ones, and I got volunteered into doing this thing because you had to get up on stage and model them, and I wound up with 2 of them.
Oh my word!
The one of them was done at a silent auction, and
the mental picture involved.
I put to you this way: the county that I work for, I made their discussion page, Facebook page, cover photo. Yeah. Yeah, but this one that I have was a normal auction, and the guy that was before me, his wound up going for like $200. I'm like, I'm going to smoke him. I got up there and started doing my thing, and the auctioneer's going, and somebody bid $10. I'm like, really? And it was just, you could hear crickets, and I'm like, I'm not going to go for $10. And somebody bid $50. I'm like, cool, I'm at least going to go for $50. Yeah, I found out it was my wife.
Yeah, but hey, you got the 50 bid.
There you go. That's it. And I got to bring my bra home.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, that's just
good.
A small bit of what's around me. I am extremely eclectic.
Well, yeah, I mean, I collect unusual things, maybe unusual. I have a crystal bowl, and, well, you can tell how old I am because what's in it. I used to save match packs when I would go to dinner or vacation. So I have match packs from all of my vacations. I traveled through the United States. I used to travel when my husband would go on business. He was a systems software analyst, and he would go to New York to go to IBM school. We went to Anaheim a couple of times to do the Share conference, which is a big computer convention. And then we would just go on different trips where he had to do different business. So we went all over the place. And then as a family, we would go on a winter vacation every winter, a summer vacation every summer. Not necessarily elaborate things, but I believe in kids
family,
learning, you know.
Yeah.
So we took the kids one year to up through New England and just drove through Massachusetts and Vermont. We took the ferry across to Plattsburgh. We went up into Canada, and the kids were crazy about it. They were at grade school, and they thought it was so cool to be in a foreign country because, you know, Canada is a foreign country compared to America, especially to kids.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys, Canada isn't that foreign. But they were like, no, Mom, this is cool. Everything here is Canadian. There's money, and there's Canadian food.
Oh, I remember getting Canadian pennies when I was a kid. Oh, that was awesome.
Wasn't that cool? So what we did was we went to Niagara Falls the one time, and there's this big observation tower. Mm-hmm. And when you're up in the air on the tower, there's a revolving restaurant that goes around the tower. And it doesn't revolve quickly. It's not like an amusement park ride. It revolves very slowly, but it's cool. And they were just like, wow, this is the coolest thing in the whole world. And then I said, okay, let's go to the souvenir shop, and you each could pick something out. And so we paid with American money, and then they gave us Canadian change. So we got all kinds of different, like, quarters and nickels, and, you know, and they were living large. Those two thought they were big-time, big-wheeling celebrities in Niagara Falls, living the life. You know, they were living it. It's so cool to watch things from the eyes of a kid, what they're fascinated by. Because when you're older, you're a little jaded. You know, you've been there, you've done that. It's like, it's all right. I've been to Niagara Falls 5 times. It's not that big of a deal to watch anymore. But they were just so enthused. And another cool place we went, which is odd to think of children and especially boys liking it. We went in Massachusetts to the Yankee Candle Factory. Mm-hmm. And well, I'm sure you've been to stores that have candles and it's very, very scented, but the Yankee Candle Factory store is so scented that what happens to you after you're in there for about a half an hour, because the store is immense, like you can't see it all in one quick in and out. There's just so many different things to look at. Mm-hmm. One thing they had, which was cool, which was not candles, was a whole display of all kinds of cuckoo clocks, which I loved. That was just fascinating. So what happens to you is your nose gets desensitized because you've been smelling so many scents. By the end of the thing, it's like your nose is numb and you can't smell anything else.
Like that Dewey Cox story. His mom looked at it and said, "You've gone smell blind."
It is true, though. We were, and we wound up with a big shopping bag, like a grocery bag full of candles. And the coolest thing they liked was you get a little box and you mix up your own dozen of the little votive candles, and it's a certain price. And, you know, you have to sniff them all to decide what your dozen is going to be. So the kids had a blast sniffing. And it was just, so those are we went on so many different and fun vacations. And so this is why I came on your show, to talk about my kids and their vacations. Hey. Oh, I'm just having such a good time with you. It's like we're hanging out having a nice tea on the porch.
And that's what I do. That's how we do it.
Where are you based? I'm trying to guess from your accent, but I'm going to get it wrong, I know.
Take a guess.
Okay. I might say Kentucky?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Where?
I am actually in North Dakota. No,
North Dakota, really?
no, not really. I'm about 20 miles south of Atlanta.
Oh, you're so full of malarkey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Is that where you're from originally?
well, actually, I'm from just outside of Augusta in a small town called Thompson, Georgia. And,
Okay.
but yeah, that's where I'm from.
Well,
And
I can tell you have a southern accent.
a little bit.
A
But
little bit, little tiny,
it's, it's,
tiny bit of one.
it's funny. I was telling
I live in
Eileen.
Florida, but I'm not from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Maryland. I grew up in Baltimore, and I
Oh,
went to school there. And when I got married, I lived in Pennsylvania, raised my kids around the Harrisburg area.
mm-hmm.
When my husband retired, we moved to Southwest Florida,
Mm-hmm. Because that's
and
what you're
I
supposed
live
to do.
in Cape Coral, Florida.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very hot.
Oh, it's been great up here this weekend. That's the one good thing. The weather has. I actually broke out my pullover.
We're
Yeah.
getting to our cooler point of the year where, at night,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't actually feel like you're in a sauna.
Yeah.
That's when it gets comfortable.
Yeah.
But pretty much most of the year here, we have like two seasons, hot and hotter.
Yeah.
We don't really
I
have.
always tell everybody Georgia has two seasons. We have summer and January 17th. Yeah. We,
We really don't have. Well, once in a while, we'll get a bit of a cold snap
mm-hmm.
in the wintertime where you do need a jacket or coat, and we turn the heat on maybe 1 week out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But you're running AC here. I mean, your AC goes down here, you're down. So I've got a contract with my AC company, and I've got my main man, Chris. He's my on-call dude. I always request him. He treats me well. Tunes up old Betsy, and she's running like a top, and it's nice and cool in here. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, really, I could be working from Nome, Alaska. I mean, I'm always working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the light of day very much. I'm a workaholic,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll take a day off. And when I'm off, I'm like outside on whatever, and then I'm back in the trenches. This is a very life-consuming business. It takes you over. It's got a life of its own, and you have to kind of surface for air
Yeah.
every so often. You were mentioning how difficult it is to promote yourself and the podcast, and imagine this is my 15th year. I've had so many artists, so many projects. We also promote charity projects. We develop our own projects. We put on benefit shows. There's always 4 or 5 things going at the same time, at least. And I have, I've got kids and a life and, a house and like regular people stuff
Yeah.
too. So it's I'm a different sort of creature. I don't know if I would like a life where when your job is over at 5 o'clock or whatever it is, then you're not doing that anymore and you're just kind of doing whatever. I haven't had it for so long. I don't even know
Yeah.
what that would be like.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I've got to stay busy when I'm not on the ambulance. When I'm off, I'll come home and sleep, obviously. But
Right, of course.
I'm either working on the show. I'm actually working on starting a video channel where we can do these kind of like Jimmy and Ron have inspired me. I want to do it live, and then have it where you can just go on YouTube or wherever and look at it.
Right.
And
That would be fun.
I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking at getting a piece of equipment to do it on Friday. Thinking about ordering it. 'Cause
Really?
it's Prime Day. Oh yes, and
Cool.
yeah, I was talking to my wife about it. She said, "Well, Friday, go ahead and order it. Happy birthday a little bit early." I'm like, "Well, thank you."
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I say, everything that I'm using now is what I've bought. The guy that did my first round of gear,
Mhm.
it served its purpose. It was good, and I've actually passed it on to someone else to do a podcast with.
Mhm.
And everything I've got now is I've put into it. The show is 100% mine, and
Right.
I would love to have sponsors, but at the same time, this is mine, and I like that.
Right. I think the more sponsored you get and the more, dare I say, corporate
Yeah.
you get, then they would have some authority as to your content,
Yeah.
what they didn't want, what wouldn't affect, what wouldn't be a good reflection of their brand.
Yeah.
And so, I think it depends on how freewheeling and footloose you want to be, versus, because I'm in the position where I represent a really wide variety of artists and projects. And so all of my political opinions are unspoken.
Yeah. That's me. It
And
just divides everybody.
all of my opinions on issues are not on social media because I don't want to alienate any opportunities for my artists or my projects. So I call myself Switzerland.
Yeah.
I'm neutral.
Yeah, and it's funny. One thing I have learned through this show is protect your brand at all costs.
Yeah, you have to.
You know,
And
and
it's very
it's
surprising, even if you say something as small as something I said once, which was not well received, and I took down on Twitter. Um, I was just speaking at the show that I was on about not that I like this virus, because of course no one wants anyone to be sick or heaven forbid pass
yeah,
or be inconvenienced, but what happened because of it was families were thrown together again.
yeah,
People who didn't see their kids because they were working, the kids were at school, the kids were in after school activities. By the time they all got together, they might have got together for a meal if they even did, and then the next day would start again. And so, you know, spouses were forced together, families were forced together. People who had been going at 100 miles an hour were stuck in their house.
yeah,
So, it sort of made people go back a little bit. And I'm a very traditional person in that I was raised by a working mom, but my grandmothers, and then there was another lady that was a grandmotherly aged person who took care of me while my mom was at work. So these three grandmothers were my role models, and they're the ones that taught me. Um, the one that watched me every day, she taught me reading and writing. My one grandmother, who was a gardener, taught me all the names of all the plants in her garden. The other grandmother, who was a seamstress, taught me how to sew when I was a little kid, and I was doing embroidery and all when I was like 7 years old because she was so good. But so I learned from these older ladies, and when I would go to one of their houses, it was like going back in time because they were so old-fashioned.
yeah,
But what I loved about it was the pace just slowed down to a slow crawl because that's how they did everything. They cooked from scratch every day, hot meals every day. There was no McDonald's or, it
yeah,
was all real food. And they had old-fashioned values, which I think have gone out the window because people are too busy. And, people want everything instant and fast, and, things that had been passed down through families are being lost. And so even though I have boys, both of my kids, I taught how to sew and clean and cook and all that stuff. And they're both in their 20s, and I'm so proud of them. Even though I have a company and I'm successful, I think my best work was my kids.
yeah. That's how we're gonna live on.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I'm gone, people are still gonna know that's Brad Pittman's daughters.
right. Is
Yeah.
there anything special that you passed along?
Oh man, I hope not. No, no. I like to think so. I've tried to get them to listen to some of my music, and it's so depressing that they think that Kid Rock is old man music.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a little depressing. My oldest daughter loves K-pop, which I
Yeah,
mean it's fine. It's not my bag, but okay. And
right.
I love making her mad because a lot of it's in Korean. And I asked her, I said, "Do you speak Korean?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, how do you know they're not singing to you about soup?" And oh, that makes her so mad. She's like, "They're not singing about soup, Daddy." How you know? And my youngest one, she's 17, and she is actually a senior this year. Way to spend a senior year during the COVID thing. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, but she has kind of got my sense of humor. That's how I can tell whenever something's really gonna be funny, is I'll run it past her, and if she cracks a smile, yeah, everybody else is gonna just cackle. I did an interview with Bigfoot here just a little while back, and I went up to her room. I said, Maddie, I said, here's what I'm thinking about doing. I want to do an interview with Bigfoot. She said, what? I said, yeah, I want to ask questions and have him, instead of having
Oh my
the
God.
voice you think he'd have him talk like the old style Southern colonel. And
Right.
she just started giggling. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that one. And I sat down here and did one for about 10 or 15 minutes. And it was funny. It was just something to just kind of get it out there. And it was
That's
funny.
cool.
I'll run my characters by them if I'm doing a character video. My oldest one loves to help me film those. She'll come down, and if I don't want her to, or if I don't want to do it on a tripod or whatever, she'll hold the camera and all that, and she'll just grin. It's fun.
Isn't it cool when your kids inherit some of your characteristics?
Yeah, and what's weird though is, like I said, my oldest one's 19. She'll be 20 actually Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, happy birthday.
yeah, and her and my youngest one, they both love to sing and dance in their room. In
Mm-hmm.
front of anybody? Nope. When I was on the radio, I would talk to 500,000 people a night. I was on a major market station when I was younger.
Oh, really?
And I get in front of, crowds doing comedy. I'm an attention whore. The bigger the crowd, the better. And they will not do it in front of anybody for anything. I mean, I can open their door and it's just, they stop. It's like, really? Come on. Nope.
Well, my younger son has my sense of humor. We laugh so hard. We have tears falling over absolutely nothing, just stupid jokes that we make up.
Mm-hmm.
My older son has my same gift of, we both do imitations of voices, accents, and, at the same time make jokes. And so our family anywhere, like you can't take us anywhere because we're such jokesters.
Yeah.
We're always cracking up over something or doing something crazy. Last year when we went on our winter vacation, we went on like a little staycation. We go to a hotel that's local to us and we just stay a couple of nights and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we show up. My older son bought us all these elf hats from the dollar store with jingle bells.
Uh-huh.
So it's a very elegant hotel, by the way. Let me add that. So we walk in our crazy hats with jingle bells to check in, and the staff is kind of like looking at us, and I'm waving, and I'm saying like, hey, I'm from a PR company, and I had already talked to their PR people, and we were going to do some promo photos, and I said, this is my crew, my support crew, and we're here to do some PR photos. And I mean, the desk people they were very nice, looking at us like we're a bunch of nuts. And we did. If you look on my media, you'll see me and my kids with the elf hats with the jingle bells at this really swanky hotel doing all these poses. But we're a fun bunch of people. I don't take life too seriously.
You can't. You'll go crazy.
There's enough serious and depressing stuff. And when I'm not involved in, something financial or something really businesslike, I tend to be a very easygoing, light person, and I don't get involved in a lot of political nonsense where, people are on Facebook defriending each other and all this craziness. It's not for me. So I choose to be a positive, uplifting person and spread my little pixie dust as I go, or as my guy likes to say, I fly with the butterflies, he says.
There you go. Yeah.
And I want to really thank you for having me be your guest. It's so much fun, and you're such a nice person, and I hope you'll invite me back.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. All you got to do is call. Save this number. All you got to do is call
and say, Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome back anytime. I've had a blast. It doesn't seem like almost an hour
we've, as they used to say, we have spanned the globe.
Definitely.
of topics.
Definitely.
I think we covered everything from soup to nuts.
Yeah, yeah. But I've had a great time. Like I say,
Me too.
anytime you
It
want
was
on
my
here,
pleasure to meet you.
and anytime you have anybody that needs to be promoted, you know, I'll get them on. I love it. I'll
Thank
play
you
their
very
music.
much. I would appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, just get me the rights and all the licenses. That way I don't get in trouble with YouTube or whoever, because they're
Right. Okay. Awesome. We'll do that.
very cool. Well, all right. Well, you try to behave and tell everybody where they can find you at and where they can find your artists at, your website and all.
Okay. If you would like to see our artists, we're on Reverb Nation, the entire gamut of artists with photos, events, and music samples. If you just look, we're Ladylake Music everywhere. It's easy to find us. Just type in Ladylake Music. You'll find us on Reverb Nation. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're everywhere. We're like the smell in Seinfeld's car. You can't get rid of us.
Nice. Very good reference.
That's for Seinfeld fans.
Very well done. Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to end the show out a little bit differently tonight than we usually do. I have got some music from some great people that Cindy turned me on to. So we're going to just start trying to do this here every show or so and just make it where we can promote some new people, get some music out there you may not have heard, and hopefully make some good fans. This is Lori Diamond and Fred Avatelli, and y'all just give them a good listen. I've got a link to them down in the show notes. Y'all check them out. Make sure you listen. Show them some love here on Smoked Meat.
You came to me last night with your gentle